Good morning, friends. You are most welcome to ThinkWise channel. Today we are discussing anthropology. In anthropology, we are discussing gender and society and approaches to the study of gender. Our introduction part, now we are discussing it. Gender has been a much discussed and debated concept from the 70s onward, although the roots of the discourse were laid much earlier. The contribution of anthropologists toward gender as theoretical construct was based largely on huge amount of cross-cultural material, that is sustaining database of the discipline. From the material from various cultures and societies, anthropologists were able to take on a critical stand towards existing myths of the gender construction and patriarchy, such as the nature culture debate, the concept of biological determinism, and the public private dichotomy, to name a few. The interface of gender as an analytical tool with previously existing social and cultural parameters such as class, ethnicity, caste, sexuality, kinship, and marriage, to name some, gave rise to the staggering amount of literature and research work. Some of these extended way beyond the limitations of gender to affect theory at the macro level, especially those that challenged the objective character of science and deemed what was deemed a masculine methodology of assumed objectivity. The introduction of gendered subjectivity into theory building challenged the very foundation of specific methodology and the assumptions of truth status for many so-called scientific facts, including Freudian psychoanalysis and many biological and anthropological assumptions. Gender was seen as one of the prime yet cultural constructs that had a powerful effect on the organization of social relationship, particularly manifested in the almost all pervasive existence of patriarchy. The assumption of a universal patriarchy gave rise to feminism as a theory and a movement, but anthropology has constantly engaged in a troubled relationship with feminist theories, often making seminal contributions of its own, based again on cross cultural perspectives. Anthropologists have shown that concepts formulated in a Western context often have different meanings and implications in different cultures, like patriarchy may operate at a completely different dimensions than as understood in the West, or the meaning of terms like public and private may differ as economies and societies are organized along completely different premises. In the three units here, you will learn about the theoretical premises of the construction of gender, reflected in how masculine and feminine are understood differently cross culturally, and how such constructions may vary across both time and space. Gender constructions are informed through cosmological and the other political and economic structures of society, and consequently change as these social conditions change. Gender is thus both dynamic and transformative in nature. You may also learn that not all societies confine gender to a dichotomy, and there may be more than two genders, as in India. Patriarchy may manifest itself in various ways, and kinship norms and values are both organized around and inform gender constructs. We find gender norms and stereotypes reflected almost every aspect of our daily lives, and it is hoped that after reading these lessons, the student will be able to understand that many day to day myths and taken for granted aspects are nothing but constructs that are culturally constructed and socially transmitted. Now we are going to discuss conceptual perspectives on gender, that is unit 1, in which we are having some content. First is introduction, Second one, definition of gender. Third, concept of gender. Fourth, differences between gender and sex. Fifth, gender ideology. Sixth, gender stratification. Seventh, gender identity. Eighth, gender stereotype. Ninth, femininity and masculinity meanings. 10th is origin of the terms femininity and masculinity. 11th is dichotomy of femininity and masculinity. 12th is relations, significance and contribution of femininity and masculinity on religion, sexuality and culture in India. And at the last we will discuss about the summary. Learning objectives are, after reading this unit you will be able to understand the concept of gender and its varied ramification from the anthropological perspective. Comprehend the theoretical discourse on gender and understand about relationship between and within the cross gender, and augment your perceptions on femininity and masculinity and its critical relation with culture, sexuality and religion. Now we are going to discuss about introduction. The unit begins by exploring the definition of gender and investigates the interface between the concept of gender and sex. It highlights the matrix of relationship of gender with other related spheres like sex, identity, ideology, stratification, stereotype, and like other. It also investigates the issues revolving around femininity and masculinity. The impact of the discourse of femininity and masculinity on religion, sexuality, and the culture are also discussed. Definition of gender. It is most important part here. Focus on this. According to Anne Oakley, 1972, gender is a matter of culture. It refers to the societal classification into masculine and feminine. In other words, gender refers to a specific cultural meaning systems that attaches to being a male or a female. In other words, gender refers to a specific cultural meaning system that attaches to being a male or a female. Gender is a sexualized identity of individuals in relation to the customs, traditions, ways of life, and the like. It is a social and cultural construction of roles, tasks, attitudes, values, and qualities of males and females. The formation of gender differs from one culture to another. As it is a culture specific aspect, the community or society as a whole contributes to the definition of gender. Often, our society influences us about the ways in which we expect males and females to behave and live in a certain way. Second is concept of gender. Gender is a multifaceted reality that is culturally constructed and socially determined by the society. In other words, gender portrays culturally and socially constructed roles, responsibilities, privileges, relations, and expectations of women and men. Because these are socially constructed, they can change over time and differ from one place to another. Gender refers to behavioral differences between males and females that are culturally based and socially learned. Applebaum and Chambliss, 1997, he said about that. They said about that. Sometimes gender is referred mistakenly only to women, although it deals with the distinctive societal and social construction of both men and women. The basic difference between the men and women is the principle of biological reproduction in the achievements. The basic difference between men and women is the principle of biological reproduction, in which the biological difference overshadows the other qualitative variations and achievements. Juliet C.W. Mitchell Juliet C.W. Mitchell opened that the concept of gender was introduced in the early 1970s to distinguish the acquisition of social attributes from biological ones, for which sex was reserved. In her view, gender is now an inclusive term that ultimately has come to include even biology. Michelle believed that gender did not have a history or a psychology in which gender has to come to place women, as in gender studies versus women's studies. At exactly that point where the intimate association between women and procreation is tending to wither away. She argued that to think of women is to think of women and children. To think of gender is to think of men and women, but it is also to think of women and women or men and men. Margaret Mead's 1935. Margaret Mead, very important anthropologist. We have to focus on this topic very precisely. Margaret Mead's 1935 study of the three societies in the New Guinea island. Though contestable on several grounds, contributed significantly to the shaping of concept of gender in the latter half of the 20th century. The functionalist notion of the sex role was also a crude precursor of the concept of gender. It suggested that men and women are socialized into sex specific roles, namely instrumental and expressive. These roles were regarded as the basis of a complementary relation between men and women, which, along with the sexual division of labor, contributed to a stable social order. Scholars have questioned the focus of this conceptualization upon individual men and women who are socialized into sex specific roles. They suggest that gender is something more than roles performed by men and women, just as economies are something more than jobs performed by individuals. Lorber, 1984. Critics have also pointed out that socialization is always a precarious achievement and that agency, interpretation, and negotiations are a part and parcel of how gender identities are actually constituted. Differences between gender and sex. Gender gives attention to the socially constructed characteristics of men and women. Gender is a social construct, whereas sex is a biological makeup of male and female. Sex is what we born with and does not change over time, nor differs from place to place. According to Kendall, 1998, sex is a biological difference between men and women. It is the first label we receive in life. In some cultures, gender deals with women's supposed vulnerabilities, their identity as a second sex or inferior sex, inferior sex, and their need to be protected. The main identity, the main gender difference is basically in the biological functions of reproduction. Barbara F. McManus, Barbara F. McManus, 1997, also argued that feminist scholars have been differentiating sex from gender and view the latter as a socially and culturally constructed category. She asserts that gender is learned and performed. It involves the myriad myriad. It involves the myriad and often normative meanings given to the sexual difference by various cultures. She often she opinions that feminists may differ in the importance they assign to sex, which is biologically based category. But the idea that gender norms can be changed is central to feminist theory. Although sex and gender systems differ cross-culturally, most known societies have used and still use sex and gender as a key structural principle of organizing their actual and conceptual worlds, usually to disadvantage of women. McManus has the same opinion with feminist scholars who argued that gender is a crucial category of analysis and that modes of knowledge which do not take gender into account are partial and incomplete. The distinctive between sex and gender, which came to dominate theorization in the sociology of gender in the 1970s, is premised upon the idea of universality of sex and variability of gender. And Oakley's Sex, Gender and Society 1972, that is his book, made the sex gender distinction very popular in sociology. For Oakley, sex is a word that refers to the biological differences between male and female, the visible differences in genitalia, the related differences in procreative function. The term sex and gender can be traced to Robert Stoller, an American psychiatrist who used them to deal with cases of individuals whose biological sex did not match their gender. The prominent theorist of feminist anthropology, Henrietta Murray, 1988, argued that there was nothing self evident or determinate about gender, and that anthropology, with its capacity to understand how differently cultures around the world conceive of gender and sex, it could not treat the idea of womanhood as straightforward and unproblematic. On the other hand, Beauvoir, Simone de Beauvoir 2010 states that males and females are two types of individuals who are differentiated within one species for the purpose of reproduction. They can be defined only correlatively. At the same time, Arya Bandhu 2009, Arya Bandhu 2009 states that gender refers to the biological and or sexual differences between men and women which make substantial distinction in how they behave, relate and respond to needs of the family, kinship, caste, community, society and the state. These factors are indications of gender differences and gender roles which were facilitated by the process of socialization, customs, norms, historical traditions, and the government machineries. Undoubtedly, the epistemology of sex needs to be briefly examined through Michel Foucault's philosophy. Foucault 1976 argued that the role of sex and sexual activity in the discourse of Western society during the 17th century made a fundamental and radical change. His investigation of discourses on sex arrives as a consequence to the commonly held conviction that there was a gigantic repression of sex. Foucault raises questions on the whether Foucault raises questions on whether or not sexual repression is truly an established historical fact, whether prohibited, censorship, and denial are truly the forms through which power is exercised in general way, if not in every society, whether whether there really was a historical rupture between the age of repression and the critical analysis of repression. He pointed out that through the evolution of Christianity and its doctrine, especially of making confession regarding sexual sins, society was compelled to start on an elaborate and inexhaustible discourse on sex. Simone de Beauvoir opened that one is not born but rather becomes a woman. Beauvoir clarifies that gender differences in society make men superior through their role as breadwinners. The theoretical framework of gender needs to be drawn further from Margaret Mead and Simone de Beauvoir. Mead 1928 revealed how the behavior of men and women differed from one culture to another and thereby challenged the notion that all gender differences were innate. On the other hand, Beauvoir argued that the division of the is a biological fact, not an event in human history. Male and female stand opposed within a primordial mid-scene, MITSEIN, mid-scene, and women has not broken it. The couple, man and women, is a basic unity with its two halves riveted together, and the cleavage of society along the line of sex is impossible. The critical trait of women is that she is the other in the totality of which the two components are essential to one another. Beauvoir argued that women is heavily handicapped, though her situation is beginning to change gradually. Even till today, although women's legal rights such as Dowry Prohibition Act 1961, Domestic Violence Act 2005, Hindu women's right to inherit property and the like are legally recognized, a long-standing custom prevents their full expression in the modes. Despite the constitutional guarantees, Indian women do not enjoy absolute legal and equal rights with men. Our people uphold the gender biases and culture of patriarchy that are deeply entrenched in the society. In Beauvoir's view, both men and women can also be said to make up two castes from economic perspective, other things being equal. The former hold the better jobs, get higher wages, and have more opportunity for success than their new competitors. She asserted that in industry and politics, men have a great many more positions and they monopolize the most important posts. Today, women are beginning to take part in the affairs of the world, but it is still a world that belongs to men. To decline to be the other, to refuse to be a partly to the deal, to decline to be the other, to refuse to be a partly to the deal, this would be for women to renounce all the advantages conferred upon them by their alliance with the superior caste. Leela Dubey 2001 deals with the intricacy of gender in her empirical study of the Gond tribal society in southern Chhattisgarh during the 1950s. She pointed out that the encounter between the anthropologist as a woman vis-a-vis society appears to be a relationship that is determined by gender, with the understanding that flows from a sensitivity of understanding by the actors involved. Dubey, being a women anthropologist with a rich experience and having the same biological and cultural imperatives of marriage, family, and childbirth that every woman encounters in her life, was able to create a conducive rapport in which she interacted meaningfully with the Gond tribal women and understood about their struggles with regard to gender roles. Missionis, Maccionis 2002, cited Talcott Parsons, an American sociologist, who claimed that complementary gender roles between men and women promote the social integration of families and society as a whole. In other words, Parsons' opinion that gender forms a complementary set of roles that bond women and men into family units for carrying out various important tasks. Women take primary duty for managing the family and raising children, whereas men join the family to the outside world through, through their participation in the labor force. Parsons argued that distinctive socialization teaches both men and women about their suitable gender identity and skills. Boys were taught to involve in the labor forces and also to be rational, self assured, and competitive. On the other hand, girls were taught to be absorbed in the process of child rearing, domestic chores, and being sensitive. The process of socialization facilitates children to learn and internalize the norms and values of the family, community, and society and learn to perform their respective roles. Both boys and girls were nurtured to become men and women through socialization in child rearing, family beliefs, education, various jobs or services, and cultural practices. Gender role deals with different responsibilities and expectations that society defines and allocates to men and women. These are not necessarily determined by biological makeup and therefore can change with time and in different situations. Gender involves the matrix of relationship between men and women, which can be changed from a patriarchal to the egalitarian one. Therefore, gender is a collective and social or societal formation which is often stereotyped and can be altered, while sex is perceived as unchangeable as it is a natural institution in the past. However, with medical advancement, innovation, and scientific technological revolution, sex can be altered in our contemporary society. The subject of sex change or sex transplant or transgender has become a critical and sensational public discourse in India today. Transgender. Transgender is an individual who is often assigned a sex at birth but who consider that he or she belongs to the opposite sex and his or her natural given sexual characteristics is an imperfect description of himself or herself. Here, we would provide a brief description about gender ideology and how it influences the process of gender stratification and gender identity. It will also examine the way in which gender stereotypes take place in the society. Gender ideology. According to Andre Betile, 2000, an ideology is that set of ideas and beliefs which seeks to articulate the basic values of group of people, what they cherish for themselves and for others. To the distribution of power in society, an ideology is not a systematic theory, although it has systematic properties and it often strives to be a theory. It may or may not succeed in articulating basic values to the distribution of power, but such articulations is a part of its purpose and design. Greeteen 1996 describes gender ideologies as how a person identifies herself or himself with regard to marital and family roles. Greeteen 1996 describes gender ideologies as how a person identifies herself or and himself with regard to marital and family roles that are traditionally linked to gender. In other words, gender ideology may refer to a value of distinctive roles, rights, and tasks for men and women in their respective society. Sometimes it deals with the prevailing legitimate gender inequality based on caste, class, tribe, and the like. In view of Andre Bitale idea on ideology, it can be argued that gender ideology is also a part of beliefs that sustain gender stratification. The noted feminist and anthropologist Sherry Ortner 1996, pointed out that intricacies of gender ideology in her work in Nepal among the Sherpas. She opened that in every society women are viewed as closer to nature, whereas men are identified with culture, a prejudice that she blames for the universal second class status of women. She also examined the man's obsession with female chastity. She also examined that man's obsession with female chastity and their systematic control of women's social and sexual behavior in traditional societies. She maintains that this ideology was bound up with the emergence of patriarchal extended families, social hierarchies, and the state. Gender stratification. Russ Long 2012 opened that gender stratification cuts across all the aspects of social life, cuts across all social classes, and refers to men and women's unequal access to power, prestige, and property on the basis of their sex. To be more precise, through the process of socialization, individuals encompass gender into their personalities or gender identities and gender roles. In the context of patriarchal Indian society, men are given more power and resources as compared to women. Therefore, gender becomes an important dimension of social stratification with regard to resource distribution among the matrilineal society, a system in which descent is traced through the mother's line or maternal ancestor. An individual belongs to one's mother's lineage, and the children or offspring would inherit immovable or movable property and titles or surnames from their maternal lineage. In India, the Garo and Khasi tribes in Meghalaya, the Muslim tribe of Kalpani in Lakshadweep, the Muslim tribe of Kalpani in Lakshadweep, and the Nayars of Kerala are matrilineal societies, although the Nayars have gradually transformed themselves into patrilineal society at present. Here, gender is a crucial factor of social stratification even in matrilineal societies. Gender stratification may be analyzed from the structural functional paradigm. Functional paradigm. The structural functional paradigm is a theoretical framework that perceives society as a complex system whose parts works together to advance solidarity and stability. The major insight of the structural functional paradigm is that gender functions to organize social life as emphasized by sociologist Talcott Parsons. Massionist J. John argued that gender implies more than how people think and act. It is about social hierarchy, and reality of gender stratification can be seen first in the world of work. Gender identity. Gender identity is defined as the individual's perceptions on oneself as a male or female or third gender, and it also deals with how society views you. This concept is closely related to the concept of gender role that reflects gender identity. Madhu Kishwar 1996 in her article Who Am I? Living Identities versus Acquired Ones argued that she became conscious of her identity as a woman only on those few occasions when she was discriminated against on account of her gender, for example, when facing sexual harassment or biasness in employment. Otherwise, her gender identity is only one of her multiple overlapping and cross cutting identities which peacefully coexist with other identities from a sociological perspective. Gender identity involves all the meanings that are applied to oneself on the basis of one's gender identification. In turn, these self meanings are a source of motivation for gender related behavior. Burke 1980. Sometimes gender identity is imposed on individual by society. Gender identity is also self identified as a result of a combination of inherent and extrinsic or environmental factors. Gender role, on the other hand, is manifested within society by observable factors such as behavior and appearance. The formation of gender identity is a multifaceted process that commences with conception, and it involves processes during gestation and even learning experiences after birth. In some societies, the traditional norms insist that everyone be classified either as a man or a woman. When the gender identity of the individual makes her a woman, although her genitals are male, she may experience what is known as dysphoria. Dysphoria, dysphoria. That means a profound depression caused by experience of herself as a woman and her lack of phallus. Her lack of phallus. 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 Gender role is normally an external expression of gender identity. Majority of people believe that gender identity and gender role are in accord. Sometimes cultural differences proliferate in expression of one's gender role, but in some other societies, such fine distinction is accepted since gender norms can play a part in describing gender identity. Gender division of labor, it is the consequence of how a particular society divides work among men and women according to what is considered appropriate to each gender. Gender stereotype. Gender stereotypes are one sided and exaggerated images of men and women which are deployed repeatedly in everyday lives. Stereotyping is a process by which children are socialized into sex roles and by which adults and children are denied opportunities for more individually varied development. Marshall 1994. Gender stereotype is the assignment of roles, tasks, and responsibilities to a particular gender on the basis of preconceived prejudices. It is also the assumptions made about a particular gender that may be positive or negative. Often we observe that gender stereotyping is based on past speculation, although it may not be true. Gender stereotype barely convey truthful information about other people. Alternatively, gender stereotype is a basic overview about the gender characteristics, disparities, and roles of individuals and groups. Whenever people apply gender assumptions to others, they are propagating gender stereotyping. Gender stereotyping often reveals conventionally simplified visuals concerning the standard social roles of men and women. Some of the stereotypes of men are not sensitive, women are not great drivers, and women love nagging and gossiping. Gender stereotypes are beliefs held about characteristics and activity domains that are considered being appropriate for men and women. The typical characteristics of traditional Indian women are submissiveness, piousness, obedience, and passiveness. In other words, a traditional Indian woman's role is to be in charge of domestic chores, chores like serving her husband, looking after her children, cooking and cleaning. Such women were appreciated as virtuous ideal Indian women. In India, our culture upholds that respectable women are sensitive, caring, dresses decently, and speak softly, which are considered as core values to make women more feminine. On the other hand, power and authority are traits commonly held by Indian men. The men are perceived to dominate the activities related to economics. The economy mode largely determines the social position of men and women, wherein men are the center of the family and society, whereas women are the part of property of men. Such type of gender stereotype creates a negative impact on women's life. Nevertheless, it is a fact that gender stereotypes are dynamic and not static. It is influenced by the ideology and economic situation of a particular era. Both men and women carry out their responsibilities according to the division of the innate characteristics of gender. Gender stereotypes are reflected in marriage, family, and community. Activity. What is gender inequality? Find out how does gender inequality come into play in educational institution, in the classroom, selection of course, and administration. Another topic is femininity and masculinity meanings. What is femininity and masculinity? Femininity is the quality of being feminine, whereas masculinity is a manly characteristics that distinctively describes men and boys. The term masculinity and femininity are gender categorization, whereas male and female are sexes categorizations. Both femininity and masculinity are rooted in the societal or social rather than the biological. Jan E. Stats and Peter J. Burke pointed out that societal members decide what being male or female means, example dominant or passive, brave or emotional, and males will generally respond by defining themselves as masculine while will generally define themselves as feminine. Because these are social definition, however, it is possible for one to be female and see herself as masculine or male and see himself as feminine. In India, the main driving forces of socialization, such as family, kinship, community, peer groups, schools, print and electronic media, and the like strengthens the cultural definition of what is feminine and masculine. Leela Dubey's 2001 made a distinction between the ideas of femininity from the concept of femininity, that is, the characteristics of women's identity at a structural level, in which she saw she saw it as a continuous process in women's life. She argued that these relationships, in her argument, women are perceived as upholders of kinship who also determine the relationship between genders. Dubé focuses on the patrilocal descent pattern of the Gond tribe while studying their kinship structure that determines the rule of descent and the sharing of property and resources. Margaret Mead was one of the first to empirically ground the distinction between the biological and social characteristics of men and women. She did this rather dramatically through her study of the conceptions of masculinity and femininity among the Arapesh, Arapesh, Mundu Gamor, Mundu Gamor, and Chambuli, Tchambuli, Chambuli. She found that among the Arapesh, both males and females display a feminine temperament, passive, cooperative, and expressive. Margaret Mead was one of the first to empirically ground the distinction between the biological and social characteristics of men and women. She did this rather dramatically through her study of conception of masculinity and femininity among the Arapesh, Mundugamar, and Chambuli, three non-Western societies in the New Guinea Islands, mid 1935. She found that among the Arapesh, both males and females display a feminine temperament, passive, cooperative, and expressive. Among the Mundu Gamer, both males and females displayed a masculine temperament, active, competitive, and instrumental. And among the Chambuli, men and women displayed temperaments that were different from each other and opposite to the Western pattern. In that society, men were emotional and expressive while women were active and instrumental. Mead's study caused people to rethink the character of femininity and masculinity. It becomes obvious that different gender related traits, temperaments, roles, and identities could no longer be inextricably tied to biological sex. On the basis of a study, Mead argues that the Western equation between masculinity and aggression on the one hand and femininity and nurturance on the other is but one among a number of possible permutations of characteristics which have no intrinsic relation with biological sex. Origin of the terms femininity and masculinity. Today, Psychoanalytical studies of gender identity have attempted to understand the origin and relationship of femininity and masculinity. The origin of the terms femininity and masculinity emerges after Sigmund Freud 1962 formulated his theory of sexuality based on the anatomy of men and women. Sigmund Freud showed interest in the discourse of femininity and masculinity during the late 1870s, in which he attempted to examine this issue from the bisexual and psychosexual development perspectives. His works in three essays on the theory of sexuality 1962 and in his article Feminine Sexuality 1931 espoused the idea of a bisexuality that involves in every human being a more or less harmonious synthesis of feminine and masculine characteristics. According to Freud, the antagonism of femininity and masculinity go before the other pairs of opposite like active and passive, phallic and castrated, which which pave the way for it. He also opened that femininity emerges after the reorganization of the psyche at the at the time of puberty. The antagonism between femininity and masculinity tends to be hazed, H-A-Z-E-D, hazed, in view of the fact that both sexes are amalgamated in the similar rejection of femininity that is equated with being deprived of the phallus. He was not entirely at ease in his approach to the question of feminine sexuality and bisexuality. His critics pointed out his limitation in this area, particularly with regard to his equation of femininity with passivity. Passivity. Dichotomy of femininity and masculinity. The term dichotomy has become a critical query in contemporary epistemological debates. The meaning of dichotomy deals with a division or contrast between two things that are represented as being opposed or entirely different. Oxford Dictionary Online 2011. It can be perceived as dualism, which categorizes how we believe. A dichotomy presumes a belief in the reality of dual contradictory principles in every aspect. In this method, dichotomy operates hierarchical intentions by defining what is normal and abnormal, what is evil and good, what is excluded and included. The dichotomy of femininity and masculinity becomes critical in contemporary society. In our everyday lives, people would expect us to act, behave, and live according to our specific gender. Many people are not able to live up to standards that are set for women and men. Often, parents in India would advise their children to behave according to their gender. For instance, girls are taught to be quiet, sober, sensitive, soft spoken, and submissive, whereas boys are encouraged to be aggressive, dominant, and tough. Masculinity is manifested in being strong and tough, whereas being weak and soft are associated with femininity. It is not possible to call these Indian cultural phenomena natural from the moment a child is born in our family. Questions would be raised whether the baby is a boy or a girl, and the cultural expectations are formed around the children based on gender. Conscious and unconscious motives of having the family legacy continue through the boy bring delight. Toys like cars, lions, guns, and elephants are bought for him, preferably blue and never pink, as it is categorized with masculinity. When a boy grows up, he would be taught to act brave, valiant, and not cry like a girl. He is trained to suppress his emotions as he is told it is feminine to express it. He is encouraged to pursue sports, manage finance, drive, involve in decision making but discouraged from domestic chores. He has fewer restrictions while going out owing to his masculinity, which also defines his primary role as breadwinner. On the other hand, if a girl is delivered, her room is maybe decorated with a supposed feminine color pink and dolls are purchased for her. The infant do not care concerning their duty and identity being associated with colors. The infants do not care concerning their identity being associated with colors. They are not even conscious of the significance of pink or blue colors, which people link with femininity and masculinity. In India, the girl child is often considered inferior to a boy child. The thought of giving her away and saving for her dowry and marriage expenses may bring misery for her parents. She would be encouraged to learn cooking, dancing, singing, housekeeping, and the like, and she may have restrictions on going out. Her gender would define her role and functions at homes as sisters, aunts, wife, mother, and homemaker. Activity. Are masculinity and femininity related to prejudice? That is the question. If your answer is yes, to what kinds of prejudice are they related? That is the total question. What is the meaning of gender gap? Unfair differences in the situation or access to service of men and women. These may result from religious prejudice, traditional practices, social assumptions, myths, and taboos, among others. Relation, significance, and contribution of femininity and masculinity on religion, sexuality, and culture in India. Here the question arises as to how does religion affect femininity and masculinity? Why will religious beliefs, practices, and organizations reflect or deviate from dominant patterns of gender inequality? To what extent will religious influences affect gender inequality? It is evident that religion, culture, and tradition in India are commonly used to justify women's inferior position in the society. The main religious context, the main religious texts have been interpreted to strengthen the power of man in our society. Gonsulin 2005 asserted that women's usefulness have been defined from a male's perspective. This is explicitly witnessed in Hinduism. There is an intrinsic link of femininity and masculinity in which the notion of goddess as Devi represents the female characteristic of the divine being among the Hindus. The concept of Shakti, power, Shakti means power, symbolizes the divine feminine creative power and also signifies the sacred forces that moves through the entire cosmos and agents of change. Shakti indicates the feminine counterpart without whom the masculine characteristics, which represent consciousness or discrimination, remains powerless and negated. Remains powerless and negated. Shakti is also known as Prakriti, being the feminine manifestation of Brahma, who is the supreme god of wisdom by which the universe exists and functions. The comprehensive force known as Yoni in the Hinduism is feminine in nature, with motivation being the life forces of creation. Indisputably, Hinduism creates femininity and masculinity in distinctive dimensions. Traditionally, the subject matter of sexuality is a taboo in the public domain. However, it is remarkable to motion. Uh, However, it is remarkable to mention that the ancient Hindu sculptures and ideals positioned in various temples across the country, including the historic Ajanta and Ellora caves, reveals the sexuality, femininity, and masculinity associated with gods, goddesses, and religion. The specific carving and wide-ranging designs covering several temples show deities in almost every sexual position that you can imagine. Such portrayals of sexuality may be appealing for some people, but if we understand Hinduism, the display illustrates the Indian conventional way of thinking about sexuality. In our country, gods and goddesses have always been seen to embrace diverse kinds of sexuality, and the physical connection between the two beings is perceived as a means to attain spirituality, nirvana. The center of attention in Hinduism is not on whether the sexual participants are biologically the same or different to each other. Interestingly, transgenders gods can be traced in Hinduism too. It becomes clear that gender is socially constructed and that sexualities have been displayed in India through its religion for many centuries. The division between femininity and masculinity represents the Indian traditional model where differences between genders are often exaggerated. Both genders, men and women, are biologically determined and unchangeable, wherein they are distinct with separate spheres of influence and qualities. Hence, the discourse on transgender, gays, and lesbians are not accepted at ease in India. At the same time, masculinity is more highly valued in our culture and it is expressed through certain characteristics like cavalry, power, courage, boldness, achievement, invention, and poise, which are perceived as being inherent to them. Section 377 of IPC, which allows transgenders as a acceptable sexes in India. These qualities, which we discussed before, cavalry, power, courage, boldness, achievement, invention, and poise, these qualities have been acknowledged as masculine in biological as well as physiological aspects. It is perceived that the contributions of femininity and masculinity are different, but it should be valued in same way. It is important to point out that the Hindus' masculine cultural values refer to the spirit of struggle, wealth, competition, goal, power, and authority. Intriguingly, the feminine culture gave emphasis to additional value on relationship between people and attributes of life. On the other hand, the masculine culture highlights the differences between gender roles, which are more dramatic as compared with the feminine cultures, wherein men and women possesses similar values emphasizing compassion and humility. It allows us to reflect and perceive new ideas of gender, sexuality, and religion. India stands for unity in diversity, wherein every ethnic groups and caste is different from each other. But we tend to believe that deep inside all people are the same, especially when the question of sexuality arises. In the sense, we tend to minimize cultural differences with regard to sexuality in order to able in order to be able to understand and gain esteem with regard to cross-cultural relationships between different caste, class, ethnic groups, tribes, and communities, we need to create massive awareness of the diverse cultural differences. Summary: femininity and masculinity have been the central representation for understanding gender. Femininity and masculinity signifies the social outcomes of being female or male and their respective characteristics. Some feminists assert that biological differences get heightened through social description of femininity and masculinity. As Judith Butler opened, any theorization about gender introduces the idea of performance of gender in terms of masculinity and femininity. Therefore, performance of gender becomes in- instinctive as gender gets internalized through the socialization processes within the dominant discourse of patriarchy. Gender is performed at different levels Within the family, kinship, class, tribes, and caste. We socially